Hey, what's up, YouTube friends? Hey, I'm out here tinkering with my 2004 Jeep Grand Cherokee this afternoon. This is my daily driver. It's just kind of a inexpensive ride. Gets me to and from work. I don't have a lot invested in it, but recently it's been giving me trouble. Actually, it's been giving me trouble off and on for a long time here with a parasitic draw on the battery, and I may be making some progress here, so I wanted to throw it in here as a suggestion. This is the Magic motor, 4-liter straight six, one of the best engines ever to be put in a vehicle this size, in my opinion. These things will run darn near forever if they're taken care of. So long story short, I've had all sorts of trouble with this thing doing this crazy parasitic draw issue. I've had wiring issues with this Jeep before. It actually had a wiring issue when I bought it about 3-4 years ago for the paltry sum of $800. It needed a camshaft position sensor. It would just randomly shut off, die in the middle of the road. And eventually it would restart and run for a while. Sometimes it'd run for a week, sometimes it'd run for 2 minutes, and then it would shut off again. Ended up being a CPS. We replaced that. That kind of took care of the problem, and I've been driving it ever since. However, it's had this issue recently where the battery drains down, and it's been completely random. Sometimes it'll sit for 2 weeks and fire right up the next time I go out to use it. Other days, I can park it, come out the following morning, and it's dead. I mean, completely dead. Battery is dead as a doornail. And it's been so intermittent that it's been a real pain in the neck to try and troubleshoot it. I thought for a while that maybe it was an interior lighting issue, so I would override the interior lights off. You can turn the dimmer switch for the panel lighting all the way down, and that overrides the lights on the interior to be off. It's kind of a hassle because if I'm driving at night, I have to turn it back on to be able to see the dash lights and then shut it off again when I'm finished. However, that didn't fix the issue. I've still had issues with it killing the battery here, and it's become more and more consistent here lately that it's done so, which is annoying, but it's also helpful in some ways because it's helped me to be able to identify the issue. I've actually chased several other things with this. I read someplace that it can be the button or the solenoid for the rear glass here. So I disconnected that. I've got that unhooked. Can't open the rear glass. It's kind of annoying, but I thought, hey, if it makes this thing reliable that I can just use it to drive back and forth to work. Keeps my nicer vehicles out of the salt and the crap that we put on the roads up here in Ohio. Great, it's a cheap ride. However, that didn't fix it. So, it died on me here. I drove it Sunday. Let's see, this is Tuesday, so this morning when I came out, it was dead as a doornail. I hadn't used it yesterday because it was a company holiday. I was off, didn't go anywhere. So it sat for 2 days and was completely flat this morning. Jumped it, drove it to work, came out at the end of the day, and it was almost dead again. Had just enough battery to start and to get me home. So I got it home, pulled it straight into the garage here. That was the most recent thing I tried. I replaced the alternator occasionally. A bad voltage regulator in an alternator will drain a battery down and kill it. I thought maybe that would take care of it. Alas, it did not. So here's where we're at. With this becoming more and more consistent, I thought, okay, we're going to try this again. We're going to try and find this parasitic draw. So I took some voltage readings on the battery. I've got this multimeter here, which unfortunately, apparently the internal fuses have blown because I was not able to use it to take an amperage reading. Those fuses are both blown. So most meters like this, when you flip them over to the amperage settings, you move your probes around, you put it in either of these amp readings. It's running those through a fuse. The design of that is if you're drawing 100 amps, you don't blow this thing up in your hand. It just blows this little fuse instead. So I've got to get some new fuses. However, not to be deterred, I also have a very inexpensive electrical diagnostic tool called a test light. And you can see what it's doing here, a very peculiar behavior on this light. So what I started with right away, seeing that that draw was present, you can see that I've got the battery positive terminal disconnected. And this is just an extra clip. I was using that a minute ago for something else. So this is the lead from my test light, right? Can you see how I've got that? So the light bulb here is between the battery and the car. So any electricity flowing through the rest of the vehicle has to pass through that filament. And that is how I know if I have found the issue. That will go out. Okay, so let me demonstrate. Starting with the underhood power distribution center, I pulled these fuses one at a time, and I'd done this before. I've got marks on these things where I had tested them and let them sit for multiple days. I'm not kidding you when I say I've spent a lot of time on this. This vehicle doesn't owe me anything. If it weren't for just the sheer aggravation of this problem, I probably would have just gotten rid of this thing a long time ago, but I didn't want to let it beat me. So what you can do is pull these fuses one at a time and see which one you pull that makes the light go out. So I'll pull this one. Okay, that didn't do it, so I can put that guy back. However, I went through these all one at a time, starting here, going all the way up through. Of course, the very last one is this 50 amp here in position number 15. And lo and behold, with that fuse removed, the light bulb goes out. So my next step then was to say, okay, fuse back in, light bulb back on. What does fuse number 15 supply power to? JB power. That's junction box. That's internal power. So that is one of the circuits that feeds to the in-cab fuse panel. So unfortunately, the manual for this vehicle is pretty worthless in terms of telling me what that fuse feeds. It doesn't even list it. It just says basically, look at the picture, dummy. So I Googled it, and what I found is that fuse 15 feeds interior fuses number 5, 7, 8, and 9. I've got voltage numbers written down here. I had to charge the battery, blah, blah, blah. So that was just me recording voltages so I can remember tomorrow if I need to keep working on this. Power distribution center 50 amp at position number 15 feeds interior fuses 5, 7, 8, and 9. No draw with those pulled. So the next step was I went inside and I pulled fuses 5, 7, 8, and 9. And the light went out. So okay, at least I know that's where that 50 amp fuse goes. It's to 5, 7, 8, and 9. Coincidentally, I can replace those one at a time, and my draw comes back when I replace fuse number 7. So to demonstrate again, very inexpensive test light. You can get one of these things for less than $10 at AutoZone, O'Reilly's, Advance Auto Parts, Napo, Harbor Freight. Go wherever you want to. Get yourself a cheap test light. You can use this to test a lot of things. So that shows me that there is voltage flowing from the battery to the car. Now, I've got my headlamp on, so you'll have to forgive me. I know this may make the video flicker. I'm going to go back inside here. I don't know if I can see and let you see at the same time. I'm going to remove fuse number 7. Okay, little 10 amp guy. See that? Now I've got some weird behavior happening in here. This thing's probably got wiring gremlins elsewhere. But let's see if I can quiet that down and make it stop doing that. Yeah, this is new. It didn't do this 10 minutes ago when I tried this. So we've got some sort of an issue going on in there that's associated with fuse 7. But not exactly powered by fuse 7. Let me go ahead and replace this fuse. We'll see if that stops. Can you hear the relays clicking? So with fuse 7 replaced, stop doing that, but I've got some other sound going on here. And you can see that light flickering quickly. So let's go ahead and pull that fuse one more time. That time everything went quiet. No crazy behavior out of the gauges. No current flowing from the battery to the car. So I guess the purpose of this is, number one, whatever my issue is, seems to be related to fuse 7. It may not be all of it, because apparently I've still got some other issue there that is somewhat intermittent. But it is related to fuse 7. I've heard from others that the grounding on these vehicles can be an issue, that you need to pull the bolts, clean up the grounds. We got a ground here, got a ground over there, we got a ground over here. So I may go through the process of doing that again. I'd done that several years ago when I got this, and I was running into that issue with it running funny. May need to do that again, but we're making progress. The other thing was, I wanted you to understand you don't need to have a $100 meter to do this. You can do it with a $10 test light. The other thing is, you can get a very inexpensive meter at Harbor Freight or your auto parts store. You can probably pick one up for 20-25 bucks. So that's how we test for a parasitic draw. We may not have this 100% resolved, but I think we're making some good progress here. So I thought I'd make a quick video, kind of give you a little bit of a walkthrough what this process has looked like. And I'd really like to keep this thing running. It's got about 170,000 miles on it, and I know from experience that that 4-liter will go another 100,000 if I can get the rest of the car to make it. So good, cheap, reliable transportation when they're working. This one's just been a little bit less than reliable lately, so hoping to get that straightened out. That is it for now. Appreciate you watching. If you'd do me a favor and like, comment, and subscribe, it would help us out. We're a small YouTube channel here, but it would help us out immensely. So appreciate it. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you again next time.